Hi, everyone. Welcome to Maximizing Participation in Summer Meals and Summer EBT, hosted by the Food Research and Action Center. I'm Steve Hayward, Communications Manager at FRAC. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few brief housekeeping items. We expect this webinar to run about 60 minutes. We are recording the presentation and will send the recording and slides in a follow-up email. Closed captioning is available. To turn captions on, select Show Captions, it's the CC button in the bottom taskbar, and choose English as the spoken language. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. To ask a question at any time during the webinar, please use the Q&A tab in the bottom taskbar. With that, I'll pass it off to Clarissa Hayes, Deputy Director of Child Nutrition Programs and Policy at FRAC. Take it away, Clarissa.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us for today's discussion on maximizing participation in summer meals and summer EBT. Like Steve said, my name is Clarissa Hayes, and I will be moderating today's webinar on behalf of FRAC. And we are really looking forward to this conversation. We think it's really timely and just appreciate that all of you took time for very busy days to join us today. I know that many of you are working hands-on on the programs that we're talking about, and summer is right around the corner. So we just, again, really appreciate you taking the time to hop on and have this really important conversation. We think that it's a really exciting time for the summer nutrition programs that step up when the school year ends. We know that we want to start thinking about how they can work together and how we can really leverage these two programs to make sure that we have complete and equitable access in every state. So we have a very full agenda today, so let's go ahead and get started. So we are very lucky today to have a full roster of some really wonderful speakers joining us today. So I'm going to take a few minutes here to introduce them and then talk about what we will be covering today. So first, I'm going to start off by providing a little bit of framing and context around summer meals and summer EBT before turning it over to Allison Maurice, who is a program analyst at the USDA Food and Nutrition Service External Affairs Office. And Allison is going to provide some context on how USDA is supporting and envisioning these programs working together, along with sharing some updates and resources from USDA, which we are always glad to hear about. And then next, we will head to the state level, and we're going to hear from Katie Parch, who's the Director of Child Nutrition Programs and Assistant Administrator at the Office of Coordinated Student Support Services with the Nebraska Department of Education. And she is going to share how their state child nutrition agency is approaching the rollout of summer EBT in their state and how it's going to be combined with their ongoing summer meals work for a cohesive strategy. And then last but not least, we are joined by Cody Bloomfield, who is the Summer and After School Meal Specialist at Hunger Solutions New York. And they will be sharing the anti-hunger perspective on their work supporting these two important programs and how they are planning for summer 2024 and beyond. So we will save some time at the end for questions. Like Steve said, we are going to be using the Q&A function just to make that a little bit easier on all of us. So feel free as we go through to submit your questions using that function that's at the bottom of your screen. And if we can't, for whatever reason, get to your questions today, we will make sure that those are included in any follow-up that we send after today's event. All right, so let's go ahead with all of that and dive in. So I think before we really get started, I think it's important to lift up what we know happens during the summer months when it comes to summer nutrition, health, and learning for millions of children across the country. We know that research shows us that summer can be a very difficult time for many families, as many of the key supports offered during the school year are no longer available to them. So most importantly, and the reason that we're really here, is that students who rely on free and reduced price school breakfasts and lunches during the school year lose access to those meals during the summer. And as a result, rates of food insecurity and food insufficiency among children are higher in the summer, which introduces other health and wellness disparities. We also know that these children are more vulnerable to accelerated weight gain and obesity during the summer months without access to the healthy school breakfasts, lunches, and after-school snacks and suppers they usually receive during the school year. And then on the non-nutrition side of things, we know that research is also showing us that there is summer learning loss that impacts low-income students and students in higher or later grades at higher rates. So we know that for, again, many families and many children, summer can be not exactly a vacation. But fortunately, we do know that the summer nutrition programs, which have been around for many years, which include the Summer Food Service Program and the Seamless Summer Option, along with the newer Rural Non-Congregate Component and Summer EBT, are proven strategies for eliminating these disparities that we just talked about. So let's go ahead and bring us to summer 2024 and today's conversation. So for the first time, and I know Allison will be touching on this a little bit more, beginning in summer 2024 and beyond, the programs that I just mentioned will all be permanent resources for addressing summer hunger moving on from this year. So combined, we know that these programs will ensure children have access to the nutrition they need to return to school in the fall, healthy and ready to learn. And as they did during the pandemic, summer meals and summer EBT will operate as complementary programs. And this is really critical because we know that while both are proven effective in addressing summertime food insecurity, one program alone has not been able to fill 100% of the need that we know exists during the summer months. So from our perspective, we see summer EBT and summer meals working hand in hand for many reasons. So the first, like we talked about earlier, is that there are some disparities that happen as far as summer learning loss goes. And we know that summer meal sites often provide programming and enrichment that keeps children engaged and socialized, which helps to address many of the learning loss disparities we touched on earlier. Maintaining these places and growing the number of summer sites where children can eat a meal, meet with friends, and participate in programming is really key to supporting the whole child. However, on the flip side of that, we also know that some families may encounter barriers that can limit their access to summer meal sites. So low participation rates can be linked to program scheduling and limitations during the summer, like transportation, too few sites, and a small number of summer programs that offer no to low cost summer programming. We also know that many summer meal sites also close weeks before school starts, with most states having a decrease in participation the month before school reopens. And as always, especially with rural non-congregate coming in to being an option, we know that rural communities can face some more logistical challenges in addition to a general lack of community resources. So we know for all those reasons that summer EBT, which gives families the freedom and choice to make the nutrition choices when and where it makes sense for their family, can be a game changer in those situations where summer meal sites aren't available. We also know that families truly need the support from both programs to help fill the summer nutrition gap that they face. So summer EBT's $40 per month per child works out to be about $1.33 per child per day, which is not enough to cover the cost of a full day worth of meals that every child needs. And the summer nutrition programs, as I'm sure many know, usually can only serve a maximum of 2 meals each day at most sites, which is less than the breakfast, lunch, and after school supper that children are eligible for during the school year. Not so related, but I think important to lift up is just the fact that summer EBT is an important community economic driver. So summer EBT operates very closely the same model as SNAP, and we know that every dollar spent on SNAP generates between $1.50 and $1.80 in local economic activity during an economic downturn. So that means that for summer EBT, with over 29 million children eligible for it, that would result in about 3.5 billion in nutrition benefits and 5.25 billion in local economic activity, which just goes to support communities and states. And then last but not least, the thing that I'll mention here is that we know that the reimbursement for summer meals continues to be a critical support for summer programs and food sponsors. We know that it helps to allow them to stretch their budget and serve those meals, get a reimbursement for those meals served, and also really maintain those operations and relationships with sites and partners all year round. So again, together, we see both of these programs really filling the gaps that are left by the other programs, and together are very complementary to each other. All right, so last slide for me, and then I'm going to turn it over to Allison. So I wanted just to talk a little bit about some of the key opportunities to expand the reach of these important programs that we see from the FRAC perspective. And I know we'll hear more from our speakers on what is happening on the national level and in the states, but here are some things that are top of mind for us. So the first is obviously related to awareness. So it's really going to be key that families know about their eligibility for both summer meal programs and summer EBT, and that participating in one program does not limit their participation in the other. And schools, advocates, and other trusted messengers can share that communications. With summer EBT and non-congregate being newer programs, we also want to make sure that we work to eliminate any misconceptions about the programs. And last but not least, here under the awareness bucket is around directing families to the application if appropriate. So this is a little bit of a confusing topic, because we know that eligibility for summer EBT can be somewhat confusing, especially for families who don't know if they have to fill out an application. One thing that we would say is that the majority of students who are eligible for summer EBT will be getting that by being directly certified through their participation in NSLP or SNAP. Where there will be more assistance needed is with students who are in a CEP school who aren't eligible through SNAP or other programs. And we know, we have Katie here from a state agency. We know that state agencies are working so hard to put plans in place to make sure that all kids who are eligible are getting the benefit, and we don't want to overwhelm state agencies. We don't want every family to assume they have to fill out an application. So it's really going to take clear communication between states and schools and advocates and families to make sure that any child who's not automatically receiving benefits, who's eligible for them, will be receiving them. All right, so on the outreach front, anyone who's worked on summer meals knows that outreach is such a critical component of that. So we want to make sure that families know about the programs, where to access them, and how to get their questions answered. So many states are creating a hotline or a website with summer EBT information and contacts, and that could be a really great way to connect families to more information if you're able to share that. And then we also know that USDA has an amazing site finder where families can plug in their address to find the sites that are nearest to them. So that really remains a key resource to help them find the sites that are operating in their area. And then last but not least, we want to keep an eye on expansion and improving access to the programs. So there is still time. It is, mid-April, but there is time to identify areas without summer meal sites and to either place a congregate or a non-congregate site there to ensure participation. And then there's also an opportunity to make sure that sites stay open longer, that they stay open as far as they can into the summer, just to make sure that that access continues. And the last thing I'll add here before turning it over to Allison is that we know that there may be some folks on the webinar today who are in states that chose not to partake in summer EBT for 2024. So now really is the time to raise awareness and support for this important program so that there is participation in 2025. And we have some resources that we can share at the end, but as always, we are happy to connect with anyone in a non-participating state after today's webinar. So that is it for me. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Allison Maurice, who's with USDA's External Affairs Office, to share more about what they are working on as far as these programs go. So Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Clarissa, and thank you to FRAC for hosting today's webinar. I'm Allison Maurice. I'm with FNS's External Affairs team, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to share with you all the work that we're doing at USDA and to overall celebrate all the hard work that our state agencies and our summer partners are doing as well. So I hope I want to leave you here as excited as I am about the opportunity ahead of us. So I will just quickly go over our agenda. I'm going to do a bit of a Summer Nutrition 101. Hopefully we can breeze through that. And then I will share with you some new branding materials that we have available from USDA. and then a deeper dive into our Summer EBT outreach toolkit that we've created, given that it is a brand new program. So Clarissa already touched upon some of this, but we know that summer break is a fun time for rest and recharge. But unfortunately, food insecurity does increase for many school-aged children when they no longer have access to those imperative school meals. So at FNS and USDA, we're committed to supporting children year-round through our nutrition programs, and holistic summer programming can help ensure all children have consistent access to the nutrition they need to grow, learn, and thrive. And our vision is that there's an umbrella of summer programs that complement each other and work together to increase food and nutrition security when school is out. And so we think of the in-person summer meal sites, grab and go, as well as the home delivery in rural areas, and then the EBT benefits for families to buy their own groceries as, again, complementary and really working together to make sure that we give our children the best chance for success. Yeah, so we have 3 ways to defeat hunger. So bipartisan action Congress took in 2022 expands the tools that we have to reach more of those kids, and we think it really will be a game changer. Along with the traditional summer meal sites, states and sponsors can now offer pickup or delivery meals in rural areas, also known as non-congregate meal option, and that became available in summer 2023. And then Congress also authorized a new nationwide program to provide summer grocery benefits known as Summer EBT, and that will launch this summer. So combined with our traditional summer program, we now can better support all of our communities. These new tools complement that traditional summer programming, which, you know, we love with their recreational activities and educational components. So let's take a look at our tools that we have in our toolbox. So just as a reminder, the in-person group summer meals have provided healthy meals at no cost to low-income kids and teens for a long time. And they take place in group settings like schools, and summer meal sites are operated by a wide range of stakeholders, like local government, community groups, faith-based organizations, and again, like schools I mentioned. And they offer children up to 2 healthy meals and a snack a day, and often provide those enrichment activities. So these summer meal sites remain incredibly vital to the families that they serve. So if your organization has been sponsoring a summer meal program, thank you so much for all your hard work, and please keep up the great work. And if you haven't been involved before, please know that we are always looking for more sponsors, and you can be in touch with your state. But we know that one size does not fit all, and that we know that that traditional model doesn't work well for everyone. So gathering groups of children together just isn't feasible for families every day. And it's because of this and other barriers. Historically, only about 1 in 6 children who are eligible for free and reduced price school meals are actually served by those traditional meal sites. So that's how this new non-congregate option that became available last summer is so important. And it does allow to provide the same balanced meals that you would get at a summer site, but using a grab and go or a meal delivery option. And again, this is specific to rural communities where that congregate meal service is not available. And they may be able to also provide multiple days of take home or home delivered meals at once. And we really learned and witnessed during the pandemic the difference providing these take home or meal delivery made for low income rural families and filling those gaps. Because the non-congregate option really addresses challenges like lack of transportation, sites, funding to support, and staff to support, a program all summer long. And so this new option can help provide equitable access to nutritious foods and could potentially benefit up to 8 million children living in rural America. We appreciate the exceptional efforts our state agencies and local program operators made last summer to implement the non-congregate option. And we really look forward to seeing the expansion and growth of this program next year or this summer coming up. So if your program is able to do take-home or delivery meals in rural communities, here's another opportunity to expand the reach of summer meals. So please do contact your state agency or appropriate FNS regional office to find out how you could maybe get involved here. And then very exciting, I'd like to talk about Summer EBT. Starting in summer 2024, USDA will collaborate with states, tribes, territories, and other local partners to roll out a nationwide Summer EBT program that, if implemented nationwide, would impact more than 30 million children across America. But we know that not every state is implementing. So definitely look forward to seeing further expansions in the future. But this program will allow families to get $40 worth of food benefits during the summer months, or $120 during the entire summer period on a preloaded card for each eligible school-age child. And I do want to just hone in on a point that regardless of when a child becomes enrolled in Summer EBT, they will get that full $120 benefit for the entire summer period. So even if they don't enroll until July, they will still get that full $120. And these benefits can be used to buy groceries, similar to how SNAP benefits are used. It's slightly different if a tribal nation is operating the program, as it will be operated through a WIC model. And since the benefit amount will be indexed to food prices each year, that means that if food prices rise, the benefit levels will rise as well. So we now have 37 states, the District of Columbia, all 5 territories, and 3 Indian tribal organizations that have opted into offering Summer EBT this year. And we're just incredibly thrilled by the overwhelming response for the first summer of implementation. I do want to note as well that, and Clarissa touched upon this, that a majority of children will be deemed eligible for Summer EBT through an automatic enrollment process and will not need to fill out an application. However, there are some eligible children that will need to fill out an application in order to receive these benefits. The biggest group of children that fall into this application category attend what we call special provision schools. And when we say special provision, we mean they're schools that provide meals at no cost to all students through various ways, but most commonly through the community eligibility or CEP provision. So because children attend these special provision schools and they all get free meals no matter what, regardless of their individual household income status, these schools likely do not collect any school meal applications annually. So therefore, those children, because if they're not already enrolled in another need-based program within the state, their household income is not captured in any way. So these are the kids that are going to need to fill out an application. So happy to answer any questions at the end about how that will work. I think one of the most exciting things about Summer EBT is that it really is a story of evidence-based policy at its best. Rigorous evaluations of Summer EBT demonstration projects, which USDA ran over a number of years, clearly show that Summer EBT benefits reduce summer hunger. Summer EBT cut the number of low-income children who experience very low food security, the most severe form of food insecurity, by a third, and improved diet quality for children receiving Summer EBT. So Congress listened, and I'm sure many of you were part of the advocacy to make it happen, and made Summer EBT a permanent program. And again, if all states were to participate, more than 30 million children could receive these additional dollars to put healthy food on their tables during the summer. So FNS has worked directly with stakeholders to inform them of both Summer EBT and the non-congregate implementation. And again, we're just so grateful to our state agency partners, tribes, school districts, community organizations, food banks, and families that have provided crucial feedback as we've moved forward in standing these new options up immediately and for the long term. And lastly, I want to stress this next point. These food dollars are in addition to, not instead of, nutritious summer meals children receive either through that traditional meal program or a grab and go or home delivery option. So all the tools in our toolbox to address summer hunger are intended, again, to complement one another and not be in competition. So I'm also excited to share some of USDA's new branding materials. And first I'll share a little bit of background on this effort and why we created the brand, and then I'll show you the different brand components. So the new branding is meant to increase preference, trust, value, and loyalty into these programs. And a brand really conveys specific attributes and benefits to make the programs relevant, attractive, and meaningful to consumers and the key stakeholders. And given this historic opportunity, launching the first new program in over 40 years, we wanted to make sure we launched with a strong brand to best help the program reach eligible families. With the expanded suite of summer nutrition options, USDA has created a unified and memorable look and feel to help eligible families, stakeholders, media, and the public more easily recognize, understand, and communicate about the program. We want to make sure people aren't confused about the offerings and understand that they are all part of the one USDA summer nutrition programs. So there are a few things we felt were really important as we worked to develop this new brand. We wanted it to evoke a positive and uplifting, vibrant tone. And second, we wanted to make sure that it was simple, clean, and easy to use across different media and materials. And lastly, we wanted to ensure states and partners could co-brand with their own names and logos. So we started working on this project over a year ago. And first we developed that umbrella name for the suite of summer nutrition programs, as well as for each 3 options. And it really focused on how families interact with these programs. So there is not a distinction between whether or not the summer meal programs are operated under SFSP or SSO. You know, we wanted this to be very public facing. And then we developed a variety of logo options and engaged a research firm to help us test them and see which ones were the most appealing. And we got feedback from over 300 consumers and diverse communities that qualify for summer nutrition to test, you know, how these new materials kind of landed with them, as well with our state agency partners. So I'm pleased to share with you our new summer nutrition brand, SUN Programs, USDA Summer Nutrition Programs for Kids, or just SUN Programs for short. The SUN name, pulled from the words summer and nutrition, reflects that broader, brighter impact USDA's nutrition programs will have on kids across the nation. And on this slide, you can see the newly developed brand logo alongside our USDA logo. The colors are bright and fun. And again, trying to communicate that more energetic, kid-focused, friendly logo. And then this slide shows the SUN program's kind of brand architecture, which includes a family of sub-brand logos. So Sunbucks is the name of for Summer EBT. Sun Meals is what we're using for that in-person traditional meal program, and then Sun Meals to Go to, you know, explain to, you know, the other kind of model where families can actually pick up the meal or get a meal delivered. So each nutrition service has its own logo and is, you know, clearly part of that larger SUN program family. We welcome and encourage our states, territories, and tribes to use these names and logos in their materials and communications. and have provided specific guidelines on how to co-brand using our style guide that's available on our website. When I'm done, I'll drop in a few links. But then this kind of shows the different ways that a state might be able to use them. And we're already excited to see some states rolling these out. It's really been fun to see it all come to life. And then I'll just lastly about kind of our campaign, share that we are working on a national campaign to connect communities and build awareness around the programs. And it's really meant, this campaign is meant to complement state and local outreach efforts with the ultimate goal of maximizing the number of children who participate in these important programs and have access to the nutrition that they need during the summer. So our campaign is expected to launch sometime around May 2024, and it will be in both English and Spanish, but we are kind of closely monitoring where states are in their implementation and making sure that our campaign is, like I said, complementary and really going to hit the target key audiences in the geographic regions where it makes sense. Now I want to share with you a little about our SunBucks or Summer EBT Outreach Toolkit. Because Summer EBT is a brand new program, we're going to focus a bit more on that. But there are, of course, other outreach materials for the summer nutrition programs more broadly. So in 2023, the FNS team embarked on extensive listening sessions to inform the rules and regulations for summer EBT and non-congregate feeding. But we heard time and time again that outreach materials for summer EBT could be an area where FNS could really fill a gap, that state agencies were strapped. They didn't have the time to develop all their own outreach materials, and definitely, you know, this has been a very compressed implementation timeline. So we felt that this was an area that FNS could fill. So on the next slide, I'll just kind of take you through some of the materials that we have. So when you poke around on the website, the first thing you'll see at the top of the page is actually a checklist that can help implementers figure out where to start with outreach. We have standardized informational one-pagers that can be used to just explain what the programs are. They're geared towards different audiences. Some of them geared towards governors, for example, others geared towards education communities, all kind of showing what role we have to play in making summer EBT a success. And then we're most excited about the customizable materials that we developed for our implementers to use to get the word out to their communities. And so when you look closer at the materials, and you can see on this slide, you see these brackets, and essentially that's an area that indicates it can be customized. So maybe the state isn't going to use SunBucks, they're going to use Summer EBT. You know, they can put that in there. And you know, for example, in some states, children who are enrolled in Medicaid will automatically be enrolled in Summer EBT, but that's not the case in every state. So we wanted implementers to really have the flexibility to adapt these outreach materials in a way that fits their needs. We also heard that resources needed to be in more than just English and Spanish, as more states see more and more diversity in their populations. So we're pleased to share that many of the materials are available in not only English and Spanish, but also Arabic, French, Korean, simplified Chinese, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. Another useful resource that I want to flag are sample letters that schools can use to send information to families. And we created a letter that can be sent to households that do not need to apply for summer EBT, as well as a letter tailored to families that will need to fill out an application. Again, trying to help states and our implementers communicate those nuances about who does and does not need to fill out the application. We also created sample social media assets that can be used, and they're organized by different phases of the summer. So there's messaging that conveys how to learn more. There's messaging on who's eligible for the program, how to access or enroll the benefits, and then more general messaging just to get the word out. And again, all of this is customizable and can be used. So we really encourage our external partners to work with their implementers to use these customized materials that are going to be developed by the states, territories, and tribal nations. And we just really look forward to seeing how these resources are used this summer and getting feedback on what was useful and areas that we could fine tune. Before I wrap up, I do want to flag that the comment period for the interim final rule establishing the summer EBT program and rural non-congregate option in the summer meal programs, the public commenting period is open until April 29th. So we would love to hear from you through that avenue. When I pass the mic off, I'm going to drop information in the chat on how you can submit public comment. That's all for me, folks, but thank you to FRAC again for hosting us today and to the other speakers. And please do feel free to reach out to myself or the External Affairs Office at USDA at any time. And I will now pass it off to Katie.
Thank you, Allison. It was great to hear all of the information about resources available to state agencies to support the SUN programs, and we're excited to do that too. I'm Katie Parch, Director of Child Nutrition Programs and Assistant Administrator of the Office of Coordinated Student Support Services at the Nebraska Department of Education. And I'll try to be brief but informative for all of you so you understand a little bit more about SFSP in Nebraska, its history, where we want to take the program, and how we see the opportunities for coherence between summer meals and SEBT. So yeah, we'll start with summer food service program and summer EBT. I just want to give you all a lay of the land so you understand a little bit more about our state and some of the unique circumstances. I'll try to describe a picture of how we're building coherence between those two programs. We really want them to work well together to support nutrition equity and access across the state. And our state varies quite a bit. It's different. There's a lot of variety in income levels. Urban versus rural is a big difference across the state too. So I'll try to describe that a little bit and want to highlight some opportunities and challenges as well as resources we have to support expansion of summertime nutrition for this summer, 2024 and beyond. So this slide here displays all 250 sites in Nebraska, and it doesn't look like there are that many locations, probably because we have a really high concentration of the number of SFSP sites in the Omaha area, which is that cluster of blue locations in the far right-hand side of the map. Omaha is our largest city. It's the most urban. It has several different school districts and also has the largest school district in the state. Omaha Public Schools has about 50,000 students enrolled, and it does do the community eligibility provision district-wide as well. So that'll come back into the conversation here in a little bit. Overall, though, you can see that there are places or open spots, opportunities, or big gaps that we do not have a sponsor or sites that offer summer meals when school is not in session. Because of the rural nature of our state, there are definitely schools and towns and community buildings that exist in those wide open spaces you see on the map, but we have experienced challenges with transportation related to people living so far apart or living far away from a location that offers meals. It is not uncommon in Nebraska for students who live in the most remote parts of the state to live with friends at a house in the town where their school is, and then during the school week, and then go back the long drive back home for the weekend. So asking them to make daily trips or to plan for or to accommodate daily trips to a summer food service program site historically has not been feasible. So the option to utilize the rural non-congregate meal service option really was a wonderful thing that our state can obviously benefit from and can help us reach and provide more nutrition to students during the summer months. I want to tell you, share with you an interesting statistic. About 150,000 students enrolled in Nebraska schools, which is approximately 50% of our student population, are eligible to receive free or reduced price meals. And our summer food service program participation historically over the last few years, with the exception of those years when waivers were allowed because of COVID, traditionally would serve or reach about 20 to 25,000 children. So we know there's a huge gap that needs to be filled. So rural non-congregate meals can help in that way, and so can summer EBT. You can head to the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, I put a big box around those COVID years here, but wanted to give you some historical information about participation levels in Nebraska. We haven't been the biggest state in terms of participation or number of sponsors, but we've had some steady growth over the years. We got great participation when COVID was at its height, right? Schools were aware of the needs in their communities. And unfortunately, I think that some of that year-round meal service caused a lot of burnout in school food service staff, and schools are the majority of the sponsors of SFSP in Nebraska. We have a handful of nonprofits, food banks, local food pantries, church or faith-based organizations that do the summer meals. But schools are a really nice fit. They understand very well how to prepare meals on a large scale, and they're trusted, established places with people that children recognize and trust too. So it's a natural and nice fit. And we're hoping to see and have good information that we're going to creep up our sponsorship level to have 90 sponsors in 2024. If you head to the next slide, it's also going to depict or give you a good idea of what regular or non-COVID meal service numbers in Nebraska look like. Prior to 2018, we were closer to probably about 100,000 meals each summer, lower than what you see on the graph here. Again, after COVID, we took a dip, not only in the number of sponsors and sites, but also in the number of meals served, but increased that just a little bit in 2023. So the trajectory or the direction is going the right way. Last summer, we had 11 different sites utilize the rural non-congregate meal service option, either exclusively or as a hybrid model for meal service, which I think was a nice pairing and a really great example of how those trusted and established people that students are used to seeing at schools and going to a school they're familiar with gave them an opportunity to not only receive a nutritious meal, but to engage in some of that social emotional support we know students need, while also allowing them to receive meals to take home between the days that the congregate meal service was offered. And that's one of the reasons we did see an uptick in the number of meals served in 2023 compared to 2022. So we often solicit sponsor feedback because we want to know what kinds of challenges and concerns they're having. And then we try to work with partners to address those issues in order to support success of summer meals. And like I said before, staffing shortages is a really common challenge that we hear about. We try to highlight exemplary models of summer food service program operations that rely heavily on volunteers from community businesses, faith-based groups within communities, older students who need to earn volunteer hours are all great sources of support to carry out a meal service. And we have some great examples of that happening in Nebraska. Lots of sponsor contacts are also concerned about children's access to meal service sites. And I'm now feeling ashamed that I have a typo right there in children's. They recognize that it can be difficult for some families to make sure their children are able to attend a meal service site. And of course, our response to that is to highlight this opportunity to utilize the rural non-congregate option, as well as highlight for school staff how they can support communication to potentially eligible households about the option to receive the summer EBT dollars for their use for groceries during the summertime. And some of the top goals we hear from summer food service program sponsors are that they want to engage those local volunteers as a way to spark community interest and support for the program. It also obviously helps address that staffing shortage challenge. They often like to integrate locally produced menu items. They understand that the kinds of activities sites offer really plays a significant and important role in students or children's motivation to come to that site every day. If they're going to learn something, do something fun, and see their friends, I think that does increase the likelihood. And we have good data that supports this idea as well. Sites that don't offer any kind of enrichment programming or activity tend to see a drop off in meal service participation over the course of the summer. So we encourage and provide resources to sponsors that we hope they utilize that help keep children engaged and coming back to the site. And obviously, all sponsors want to increase participation. Obvious reasons: they want to serve their community, but also we know that participation has an effect on the bottom line or the finances of the program, and they need that participation in order to continue providing meal service. Yeah, we have lots of great support resources, like I've mentioned, and we have wonderful partners that help us in developing and sharing those. Nebraska Appleseed has a summer food service program toolkit that also includes some guidelines on equity best practices. And I'm going to put the link to both of those in the chat. I don't think the second link worked very well, but you can definitely navigate to the equity best practices from the first link I provided. So, excuse me, we also like to promote the farm to school initiatives that I think enhance equity and access to food and provide sort of that more comprehensive access to these federal funds for producers who could sell their product to sites or sponsors that are operating the program. We want the federal funds to be used to support local and small communities. And this is one of the ways that the program can not only meet food security needs, but also help small communities thrive. So we've got a really nice suite of social media graphics that encourage sponsors to participate in farm to summer activities, including applying for awards through the USDA's Turn Up the Beat program. We also, in addition to utilizing the USDA Sun logos, incorporate a Nebraska-specific logo as well that we hope is colorful and attractive and gets kids and parents' attention and gets them interested in learning more about the program. And finally, with the addition of the rural non-congregate option, we identify sponsors that engage in some very successful best practices and try to host a webinar annually to highlight those best practices and get interested sponsors or potential sponsors connected with a mentor that they can use to ask questions and problem solve as they're trying to get their own new summer meals program stood up and started. You can head to the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, as you know, as far as summer EBT goes, Nebraska was a bit of a late adopter. Our decision was made in February of 2024. We are co-administering the program with the SNAP agency in Nebraska, which is DHHS. And we have utilized a lot of those already prepared resources, like the ones Allison mentioned. Our role in summer EBT is to communicate with and receive student information from schools. And that means we have to utilize school staff not only to share eligibility and benefit issuance information with households of students enrolled in their school, but to give that information back to us as well. So we know that families with students trust the schools that their children are enrolled in. They provide a main source of information for them too. So we want to provide them with as many resources and as much information as we can so that folks understand if they qualify, whether they qualify, right, and how to apply if they don't think they're going to receive the benefits. So again, utilizing the suite of resources we've got at our fingertips is great, and maintaining that positive relationship with school districts is also really important. Good, head to the next one. Thank you. Yeah. So that SUN program coherence, as I mentioned, is really important. We provide in a variety of places and ways to schools, to beneficiaries of other public assistance type programs like Medicaid, and SNAP, the availability of SFSP sites and how to find those utilizing the texting option or the online SFSP site finder that USDA provides. And the information and support we provide to the SFSP, which is a program the Department of Education administers, includes promotion of the SEBT program, information on how to access the application for folks who think they might qualify, and other resources that are going to help them navigate that process to determine if they're already going to receive benefits, and if any income situation in their household changes, that there is an option to complete that application at any time during the summer period in order to receive the full $120 benefit for each eligible child. And that SEBT application that I've mentioned, our state will have ready to go by June 1st. It's also going to share information about how to identify and locate those SFSP sites and their information. So recall back to the map I showed you at the beginning where we saw some really wide spaces or opportunities, or maybe even challenging just geography in Nebraska. We know that some sponsors are going to be able to offer a type of rural non-congregate meal service, and we've had increased interest in that. We also understand very well that that's not going to meet most students' needs, right? If maybe 25 to 30,000 of our eligible 150,000 students access SFSP, we still have a big job in as many ways and places as we can. You can go to the next slide. I feel bad if it's not advancing for you.
I went to the next slide.
Yeah, it's not. I think I was just going to say, obviously. Oh, you did? Oh, maybe my internet is very bad. Here, I'll stop. Now I can see it. Okay. I'm out. Obviously, opportunities for growth using rural non-congregate. I want to make a plug for Nebraska state-specific grant that supports the SFSP, and each eligible sponsor can receive up to $15,000 annually, and we have a total pot of money of about $80,000. And they can utilize those funds to purchase any equipment they might need to support a rural non-congregate meal service. Obviously, those challenges continue to be staffing for meal preparation, meal service, and even transportation of non-congregate meals. And those bottom line things we want to address that we think are sort of, that we want to address as far as food and labor costs tie into utilizing volunteers to sort of address staffing challenges. But volunteers who give of their time, very kindly give of their time, can help make sure the reimbursement money can fully cover the costs of the program as well. So we try to promote those ideas as often as we can in order to expand summer meal service and help new sponsors see that this program is very doable. That finishes things up for me. Thanks so much for letting me share more about summer meals in Nebraska. I'm going to toss it to Cody now.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. So thanks for having me today. I'm really glad to be here with all of you. My name is Cody Bloomfield, and I'm the after school and summer meals specialist at Hunger Solutions New York. Hunger Solutions New York is a statewide nonprofit that performs outreach and advocacy for several federal nutrition programs, including SNAP, WIC, CACFP, school meals, and summer nutrition. We've worked on traditional summer meals for many years, and when summer pandemic EBT benefits became available, we were able to leverage many of the same partners and communication channels for both purposes. We are mindful of our messaging and that some summer meal sponsors may see pandemic EBT and now summer EBT as an alternative to participating in their program when it's not either or. When speaking with partners and sponsors, we made sure they understood that families could still participate in summer meals when receiving summer PEBT benefits and encourage them to share that information with the families they serve. In our experience, most summer meal sponsors were well aware of the need for a multi-pronged approach to summer child hunger, and we're pleased to have an additional resource to share with families and to help fill the gaps where their meal service leaves off. We also incorporated that type of messaging into our own statewide outreach resources. On our pandemic EBT webpage, we stated that families could also receive summer meals. And on our summer meals webpage, we said the same about summer pandemic EBT benefits. We also incorporated this message into our summer meals outreach toolkit, which includes template social media posts and newsletter language for partners and sponsors to share. Looking ahead to this summer, as we've been performing our traditional spring outreach and education regarding summer meals, we've also been introducing Summer EBT as a new program to New York's many stakeholders. When pandemic EBT was in effect, we encouraged sponsors to perform SNAP outreach at summer meal sites, and will continue to do so in order to support summer EBT. As you all know, when families participate in SNAP, their school-age children are automatically eligible for summer EBT benefits without further action. Here at Hunger Solutions New York, we manage a statewide network of SNAP application assisters called the Nutrition Outreach and Education Program, or NOAP for short. So the connection to SNAP outreach is a natural fit. We encourage summer meal sponsors to reach out to their local NOAP coordinator to partner on outreach. NOAP coordinators often set up tables to promote SNAP at summer meal sites, and then vice versa. The NOAP coordinators share information about summer meal sites and now summer EBT with folks that they are assisting regarding SNAP. It's really a win-win, and it helps families understand that all of these programs work together. Our state is fortunate to host a few really amazing regional summer meals collaboratives. And these groups of stakeholders include sponsors, sites, state agency representatives, advocates, and organizations focused on offering activities at the sites. By participating in the collaboratives, our organization has been able to reach more stakeholders with pertinent updates more quickly, and therefore communicate more effectively. The Summer Meals Collaborative of the Capital Region has really leaned into the in-person benefit of traditional summer meal sites and adapted their marketing to use the slogan, "Come together, eat together, have fun together." If you have similar convenings with sponsors in your state, I would definitely recommend connecting with them on summer EBT and broader nutrition program work. Regarding stakeholders, I'd be remiss to not mention libraries with whom we partner heavily. 60 libraries across New York State served as summer meal sites in 2023, and many more are interested in participating in 2024. Hunger Solutions New York just presented a library-specific summer meals webinar through our statewide library association, for which we had over 100 registrants. We recognize that librarians are trusted messengers for their communities and therefore well-positioned to deliver information regarding federal nutrition programs. Libraries also have their own communication networks that allow for the quick distribution of timely information. One such internal network is the New York State Libraries listserv, which they also refer to as Nightline. Externally, libraries use their websites, their social media pages, and in-person engagement to distribute information to their patrons. For many years now, New York's libraries have leveraged those communication channels to share about summer meal sites alongside other programs like SNAP and WIC. Especially for libraries and non-area eligible communities, summer EBT is a valuable addition to their outreach. And we at Hunger Solutions New York attend the New York Library Association's conference annually in order to maintain strong relationships with this group of advocates. For now, our messaging on summer EBT has been stage setting. We are awaiting additional information about what this will look like in New York, as our state agencies are still working with USDA to iron out all the details. Our summer EBT page, which I'll add to the chat, features the basics that families will receive $120 per eligible child on an EBT card, and also mentions that we'll be updating the page when more information is available. If you visit the page, you'll notice we mention the other federal nutrition programs that support children's access to healthy food while school is out. And our messaging has been really consistent here. Summer EBT is another tool to be used in conjunction with other federal nutrition programs, and in particular, summer meals. Once more information is available regarding New York's 2024 summer EBT plans, we will support our state agencies in pushing that information out to schools and summer meal sponsors. We always try to stay in lockstep with the lead state agencies to ensure all of our messaging is consistent and clear, and to make sure we're directing families to the best resources for additional information or customer service. To that end, we've been meeting regularly with both the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, that's the lead agency on summer EBT in New York, and our state education department. These regular updates are helpful for getting our ducks in a row regarding outreach, so we can start sharing information as soon as possible. And looking ahead, we're setting a date for a virtual call with the state agency administrators and our partner advocates from across the state. The agencies plan to share information and outreach resources for summer EBT, and then advocates will have a chance to ask questions. And many of these same advocates conducted outreach and provided assistance to families for a pandemic EBT, so they're already eager to serve a similar role for summer EBT in the months and years ahead. The new rural non-congregate flexibility for summer meals is a really great option for those in eligible areas where in-person meal service isn't available. To use USDA's language, rural non-congregate sites act like the third prong of a unified summer nutrition program, with summer EBT and congregate summer meal sites acting as the other prongs. We're obviously still in very early days since this flexibility was only introduced in 2023, but we like to think about this flexibility's potential. So for example, one of New York's sponsors saw 2 to 5 times the participation at their rural non-congregate sites as they did at their traditional congregate sites. Congregate meal service is clearly the gold standard when possible, and that kids and teens have the opportunity to engage in social emotional learning. But we know that this meal service type just doesn't work in all communities. So we're really grateful to the USDA for taking into account the many barriers that families living in rural areas face, from transportation to time constraints, and look forward to gleaning best practices from emerging non-congregate models. In the meantime, we're helping to spread the word about non-congregate options in all of our summer meals outreach, from webinars and workshops for schools and summer meal sponsors to email blasts for our Child Nutrition Network. This spring, we'll have an opportunity to sit together with school nutrition directors and the state education department, who's the administering agency for SFSP, to talk in more depth about the new rural non-congregate option at a New York School Nutrition Association conference. As we navigate these new options, Hunger Solutions New York is grateful for opportunities to learn from similar organizations in nearby states, such as our neighbors in Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Jersey. And our efforts continue to grow and evolve thanks to all that we learn from our neighbors. And I'd really be remiss not to thank FRAC for convening calls like today's, where we can learn from one another and share best practices. Lastly, I want to mention how critical it is to collaborate with your state agencies. At Hunger Solutions New York, we spent many years working to cultivate transparent and collaborative relationships with our state agencies, and we are incredibly fortunate to have those efforts reciprocated. We cannot understate the importance of partnership with our state agencies. We've been invited to support our state education departments, summer meal sponsor trainings, and to collaborate on workshops for summer meals and other child nutrition programs. As I mentioned earlier, we meet regularly with our state agencies in order to stay in lockstep with their messaging and to elevate barriers and facilitators from those participating in these critical nutrition programs. We're really grateful that they're so willing to work in partnership to make the most of these programs. I'm really happy to answer any follow-up questions that folks may have and can be reached at the email address that I'll throw in the chat in a second. So thank you again for having me today, and I'm really excited to see what summer 2024 holds.
Yes, what a great way to wrap us up. Thank you so much, Cody. And thank you everyone for staying on. I know we're a little late, but it just shows the interest in this topic and how excited everyone is for this summer. So if you have to hop off, please feel free. Otherwise, we'll stick on for a couple more minutes and answer some of these questions. I think a lot of them are pretty similar. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Allison at USDA to address some of the questions around applications.
Thank you. So I guess I'll preface the application discussion by saying this is the first year of implementation and states are under a time crunch to get everything set up. But the long and short is that the summer EBT applications are going to be state level based. So USDA will not have like a nationwide application. Those applications need to go directly through the state agency or the implementing agency. And summer EBT applications are ultimately the summer EBT implementing agency's responsibility. However, recognizing that summer EBT implementers may need flexibilities in this first year, in summer 2024 only, summer EBT agencies may delegate or assign activities related to these applications to LEAs. However, the summer EBT agencies must pay for all the new costs associated with processing these applications. So if a summer EBT, for example, if an EBT agency needs a large LEA to collect applications for summer EBT in 2024, they may do that, but they have to cover all those costs for the LEA that are associated with that summer EBT activity. In summer 2025 and beyond, summer EBT agencies may enter into contracts or other similar arrangements with LEAs to process applications, but they cannot compel them to do so. So ultimately, the statute, the law requires that states and ITOs and territories make available an application at the state level to certify those eligible children. I do want to just quickly also touch upon verification for summer EBT applications. Verifying officials do not need to complete verification for all applications. Summer EBT applications will be subject to verification for cause in 2024, a process through which questionable applications are verified on a case-by-case basis. In 2025 and beyond, the verification process will more closely align with NSLP or school breakfast approach to verification rather than the SNAP process. In other words, verification will be conducted for a sample of summer EBT applications after that initial eligibility determination or of a self-attested income application is made. And then I want to just touch upon, somebody asked about social security numbers on the summer EBT application. So summer EBT applications may, but are not required to, include a field to collect the last 4 digits of a social security number for the adult signing the application. However, eligibility must not be contingent on the applicant providing the last 4 digits of their social security number. In other words, if the summer EBT application contains a field for the social security number, it must clearly be labeled as optional. And if the applicant leaves the social security number field blank, the application must still be processed if it is otherwise complete. And then how long can summer EBT agencies need to accept applications? And can there be a submission deadline or cutoff? So households have the opportunity to establish eligibility for summer EBT at any point between the start of the immediately preceding school year and the last day of the summer operational period, which will generally encompass more than an entire calendar year. Therefore, summer EBT agencies must accept and process applications throughout the year. However, summer EBT agencies are permitted to encourage applications to be submitted before the start of the summer operational period. So for example, in communications to the household, summer EBT agencies could be permitted to say, in order to receive your summer EBT benefits prior to the start of summer, please submit your application no later than March 1st. I hopefully wrapped up a majority of those application questions there. I did drop a link to our questions and answers resource that we have that dives much deeper into all these topics and is a very it's an easy way to kind of get those type of questions answered if you need more clarity on any of this. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Allison. And I want to be really mindful of the time. So we're going to go ahead and stop questions there. I think Allison did address most of them. I think a couple more might have come in. We will make sure to answer those and include a Q&A that goes out with the webinar recording, but I know we are 8 minutes over time. So quickly, I will just, we have some summer and summer EBT resources that we'll call out on our FRAC website. So if you are looking to do more around summer meals or summer EBT, please feel free to go to our website or to reach out to me, and I will put my email address in the chat. And then on the very two slides, if you want to move forward, Steve, one more. I just want to call attention, Allison lifted up the interim final rule. Comments are due by April 29th. FRAC does have some sample comments where we pulled some suggestions and ideas together. So if you want to use that as a starting point and submit your own comments that you customize, please feel free to do that. That link is in the chat and then also available on our website. But with that, I just want to go ahead and wrap us up. Thank you all for staying 10 minutes over. Thank you to our wonderful speakers for sharing such an important insight and perspective on the opportunity that we have for this upcoming summer. So please stay in touch. I think you have everyone's email addresses, and we will be sending out follow-up after today's event. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.